Well, the Josh Show, it's gone. It's canceled. It's over. Unfortunately, his fedora was disgusting, and he still wears it for some odd reason. Like, we all know you're bald. Just go ahead and take it off. But anyway, he didn't look like a cute John Mayer. He looked like a bald man wearing a fedora. So I guess I had to take over. YouTube sent me an email and sent me his password, and now we're here. But I guess I can show you one last video of his because I'm nice.
In this episode, we won't talk about myths or legends, but facts. For example, we won't debate whether lasagna is or isn't pasta cake. It is. Nor whether we only use 10% of our brain. We don't. Nor whether the Rewired Soul is not a drama channel. It is. See? These are all facts. Another fact is that everyone thinks they are a psychologist. It's true. Humans have evolved to become very, very social animals. And because of this, we've developed empathy or theory of mind. This is basically our ability to attribute mental states like thoughts, feelings, and intentions onto ourselves or others. And theory of mind is crucial for everyday human social interaction. If we see someone smiling, we assume they are happy. If we see someone crying, we assume they are sad, unless we are dealing with this guy.
Anyway, so to everyone on Patreon, thank you for trying to help me. I'm gonna continue trying to make videos to entertain you every fucking day.
The theory of mind comes with the understanding that we all have different thoughts, we all have different minds. And psychologists often test this theory in children through something called the false belief test. Look.
You're gonna have a tea party with Play-Doh. I wanna serve myself. Here, Sarah. No!
Well, you've probably discovered that however smart your 3-year-old is, she doesn't seem able to put herself in someone else's mental shoes, to imagine how they think and what they believe. Perhaps you thought your parenting skills were to blame, but scientists suggest that understanding other minds is a skill that may not be fully developed until a child is about 4. To learn how children's social skills evolve between about 3 and 4, researchers use something called a false belief test. What do you think's in this box? Looks fairly obvious, doesn't it? Crayons. But let me show you. I filled it full of candles. All right, now I close it up again. While you and I have been having this conversation, Snoopy has been down here, asleep. Doesn't know what we've talked about. But let's bring him into the conversation. Now I have another question for you. What do you think Snoopy will say if I ask him what's in this box? Crayons, obviously. What else could anybody possibly say? Well, watch this 3-year-old.
What do you think is inside this box? Okay, let's open it up and see.
Candles.
Now, you can ask the child what appears to be a very simple question about that. What did you think was inside the box when you first saw it? They say, oh, I always thought that there were candles in this box. Then you can ask them about someone else. So you can ask them about Snoopy. Snoopy's been sitting here. He hasn't seen this box. He's never seen us open it up. What does Snoopy think is inside this box?
Candles.
Children say the same thing. Snoopy will think there are candles inside of this box. And what that indicates is that the children's view of how minds work is very, very different from the view that you and I would have. Yes. Did you see it?
In the mind of the 3-year-old, everyone sees the world much the same way. There's no difference between what I think and believe and what everyone else, including Snoopy, thinks and believes. It is, in a sense, a naive and innocent view of the world, a kind of mental Eden. And then, about 4, comes the fall from grace.
Now, if you take the 4-year-old, quite typically the 4-year-old will tell you that, as a matter of fact, he thought there were crayons in the box, and then he found out that there were candles in the box. You can ask him about Snoopy, and he'll say, oh no, Snoopy will think that there are crayons in this box. Great, why will he think that?
Because it's a crayon box.
Mm-hmm, that's right. And that's going to make him think they're crayons. What's really in the box?
Candles.
Right. And then you get the 5-year-olds who are just utterly blasé and think that this is such an obvious thing, it's silly even to ask the question. What that shows is that by the time children are 4 and 5, they have a view of the mind that looks much more like our view of the mind. They understand that things can be tricky and deceptive, that you can change your mind, that things aren't always the way that they seem. And that gives them a very different vision of how the mind works and how people work.
Remember, we're sharing this. Oh, I need that. Okay, then it's my turn.
Children who pass the false belief test now understand that other people can have different beliefs, even mistaken beliefs. Some scientists suggest that this test is further evidence of innate brain circuits specialized for reading other people's minds. They call it a theory of mind mechanism.
So, it all comes down to reading other people's mind. And this brings us to Chris Boutte. Two words that, when put together, sound as troubling as urethra scarf, vulva wallet, or John Cookian. Chris Boutte is a clean and sober recovery addict who makes video about mental health on a channel called The Rewired Soul. He's basically tricked a ton of people into watching his content by combining the mental health community and the drama community, which is a genius move marketing-wise, but this is not the most amazing thing about this guy. The most amazing mind-blowing fact about him is that he's 33! 33 Earth years! He's the same age as Bruno Mars, Odette Annabelle, Dave Franco, me, Carly Rae Jepsen, and fucking Onision. Now, I know you're confused, so to make Earth make sense again, let's say that Chris Boutte is a 33-year-old Martian, which is equal to roughly 60 Earth years, because Mars takes 1.8 years to go around the sun. Roddy over here is an unexpected Google search model and not really casual drug dealer who is now serving years in jail. But that's not the point. Focus on his age. He is 60. Look, Chris, Dave Franco. Chris, Roddy. Chris, Carly Rae Jepsen. Chris, Roddy. See? Done. Now, let's move on. So, back to the story. We all try to read people's mind. Just think about it. How often do we psychoanalyze public figures? Everyone has their own conspiracy theory. For example, she must be definitely suffering from BPD. He's a narcissist. This guy must be a drug addict. He's a depressed old man. She's definitely crazy. He's a psychopath. He's a sociopath. And he shows signs of antisocial personality disorder. We try to explain people by their mental disorders after watching them crying for 10 minutes on a video or getting upset over something rather than taking into account their entire lives. Most of the time we label strangers just to make them lesser than ourselves, just to feel better. We don't project all the time. Projection is a very, very loose term. Every time someone says something, you can always say, oh, he's projecting. No. But by analyzing them, we unconsciously try to fix our own problems. And fixing problems was also Chris's goal. But in the last few months, we've seen entire communities on YouTube imploding over the actions of these immigrants. Now, don't get all, oh my god, Josh is so racist. No, I'm an immigrant too. I'm from Europe, he's from Mars, and he's definitely 60! End of the story! So, in only one Martian month, or about 2 Earth months, the hell broke loose. Here's a little recap. Chris diagnosed a number of YouTubers, including Trisha Paytas and Bobby Burns. Kimstar called him a scam artist. Bobby Burns replied basically saying, mind your own business, you know nothing about my mental state, while Trisha, during a mukbang rant, ended up saying, once an addict, always an addict. And the internet went in a tailspin. The viewer voice then called Chris out for trying to manipulate the drama community to his advantage. Upset for being called out, Chris leaves what he calls the toxic-ass drama community, and he felt good. We then found out Chris raised the price of a course he was selling prior and during his time on YouTube from $25 to $100, then went down again to $25, and now is free on a website allegedly run with his mother, who has now disappeared. A few days later, he decides to take some time off, but only after leaving a threatening video disguised as an apology. Other large YouTubers like Dustin Daly, Sarenkov, Beauty with Ashley, and Petty Page basically tell Chris to go back to his home world. YouTuber Leafy Green, previously diagnosed by Chris, got visited by by the police. The driven industry got swatted for allegedly killing his wife. Keep in mind, in reality his wife died because of a mental issue, and he's very sensitive about it, so you can imagine how this has impacted him. And Bipolar Corner deleted his channel after an insane harassment campaign against him. Wow! This is literally the perfect drama for the best movie ever. We've got everything. The sexy rebel, the angry gay guy you don't want to mess with because his lawyer would love to fucking hear from you, a hot black pink-haired girl, a pregnant woman, the disappearance of a mom, police, a doctor, threats, crimes, a former porn actress, a big fan, another doctor, everyone fighting the evil alien that is trying to conquer the world by manipulating humans through the power of the internet, and a fucking talking cat.
I'm sorry, Sheriff, I didn't mean any harm. I was just trying to take the drama that people were already watching and try to give them some solutions. You see, around here, we like to talk about the problem and stay in the problem. So get. I said get. No, Chris, don't leave us.
Chris Boutte promised to take some time off the internet and reflect on his mistakes, which should have been great news, but he didn't strike a particularly proper tone.
This is a warning to you drama channels who will not stop making videos. Again, I can handle it. I understand the community. Right now, my name is getting clicks. It's getting views. That's all right. But I'm letting you know, as a fellow creator, right now, as we are in the midst of Adpocalypse 2.0, YouTube and social media as a whole is taking this very, very seriously. So again, the viewer's voice, Dustin Daly, Ashley Kyle, Siren Cove, and Petty Page, if you are working on an expose, I want you to think long and hard about this because YouTube is not playing around. I know a lot of you do this as a hobby. I know that, but you are messing with people's livelihoods. You are inciting some terrible things happening online, and YouTube is cracking down. If you care about this community, all right, you really need to think about what you are doing here, all right? I have another video that I have planned, and I really just wanted to not address this stuff and kind of just move forward and just do my thing and all of that and whatever, but this is getting out of hand. And my suggestion to all of you to stop this from escalating any further is you need to make a video as soon as possible covering your butt.
Wow. On that very same video titled Trisha, I'm sorry, he lowered the apology bar so low that now the less sensitive way to apologize at this point is to send a gift box, an apology box to the people he hurt with the head of a rabbit in. Because nothing says I'm sorry better than a dead animal delivered to your house. And reactions have been quite homogeneous on all directions. At this point, unable to let the fire extinguish on his own, Chris unveils his new plan. Stay off the internet for another week or two, only after releasing not one video, not two, because two is for people that fucked up the first time, not 3, because 3 is for Beetlejuice fans, but 4 videos. And all 4 videos got something like 75% dislike rate. If you ask me, I think they were okay videos. He explained his mind in a calm way without threatening anyone. So I'm okay with it. I personally have nothing else to say. He could have made 1 video instead of 4, but hey, he felt better that way. But because the damage is so deep, people are angry. So why is it okay for me but not for all the other people? All he should have done was just apologize publicly or privately to the people he hurt. And second, because I've never been invested in him. Because I've never really watched his videos and I'm not used to the way he expresses himself, his delivery. So it would be irresponsible for me to say, oh, this sexy young looking Martian wasn't honest, when I actually don't know him. But it seems that the people that know him the most would disagree with me. In fact, virtually everyone believes that he wasn't sincere at all. And about 3 days later, Chris releases another video titled, What Happened to Alison, I don't know, what is that? Jeeves, I don't know, I'm an immigrant. Which isn't a bad video, you can see the difference between the old ones and this one, but it was posted by Chris Editor. I mean, in terms of editing, the Rewired Soul is the equivalent male version of Joy Sparkle BS, where in this case BS means Boutte's soul. The video has virtually no editing, apart from that weird zoom in and out to make it look like he has multiple cameras. Oh man, I feel sick. But the award for the best apology video goes to, in my opinion, goes to Ashley Kyle. That starts her video titled My Apology to the Rewired Soul with this.
Chris, if you actually thought that I was going to get on camera and apologize to you, you've got me fucked up.
Holy shit, she literally recasted us all. And finally, this week, Chris tried again to boost his credibility on with a blog post on blogsitemedia.com titled "Is the Rewired Soul a Fraud?" Which frankly was an idea, as his old brand is now synonymous of being, as Chris himself explains in that very same article, has not qualified. But in that article, he makes some important points. The allegation: my course is a scam. Prior to my course being free, it was a course I created based on a group I did at a fully accredited treatment center, which insurance companies paid for because it's psychoeducational and you do not need a license to do such a group or course. In the video discussing the course now being free, I show my financial statement from teachable.com in which I have not made any money from the course in the last year. There was one person who purchased the program recently, before I made it free at a 50% off rate, and I founded that one person, as the course is now free. As you can see from the full sales history, I wasn't making much off of my course. And even still, there was nothing unlawful about selling this course, and nobody has produced one person who has purchased the course and stated that they have been scammed. Yes, part of his explanation was, I'm not qualified and I charge people $50 just for talking to me, but I refunded that money. See, I'm not a scam. And at this point, he reminds me of that Houston family that was charged $1,600 for a Domino's pizza order that should have been less than $20. Not because of the nature of the problem. Domino's, for example, had a faulty machine, acknowledged the issue, apologized, corrected the transaction, hasn't encouraged the other branches to check on the family by sending them a wanted pizza delivered by a SWAT team. But it reminds me of that because of the parallels between the two transactions and the value of what they were selling. Domino's sells hazardous dirty bread disguised as pizza to vulnerable people that are suffering from hunger for $20, just to fill a hole deep inside their tummies. While Chris sells dangerous content disguised as valuable advices to vulnerable people that suffer from mental issues for Google ads or $50 in cash, just to fill a hole deep inside his pocket. Although, I will admit, his Medium article had nearly one very intriguing explanation. The allegation: I have unlawfully charged people for coaching. This is false. Nobody has been able to bring forth a single witness to state that I have charged them for coaching. Now, something people are calling into question is my $50 Patreon tier. But that is not a coaching call and is not marketed as such. It's a hangout, and if a person asks for advice, it's nothing more than that. Hangouts are nothing abnormal for YouTuber Patreon tiers. By doing some research, you will see that this is quite common. Even from large mental health channels who are not licensed as well. They are not doing anything wrong either. The reality is that I've only had 2 calls with individuals who signed up. And during each call, we simply got to know each other. It is slanderous for channels to make claims that I've sold coaching with no witnesses or evidence. Now, here's the thing. I believe that he doesn't understand that just because he is a recovering addict with a passion for mental health, which is a wonderful thing, don't get me wrong, he is not worth $50. For him, a woman with love problems has BPD, just like after 6 minutes on WebMD, you have the certainty to have cancer. In this show, we might call people crazy or psychopath, but we don't advertise ourselves as mental health advocates. Nor does anyone else that I know of. Making 15 videos on someone just to remind them that they have BPD, a mental problem, or they are in a toxic relationship, reducing them to tears, is dangerous. Look, I had a nervous breakdown about a year ago because I never dealt with something that happened to my family. And after ruining a friendship, after making a fool of myself, I left not for a day, not for a week or a month, but for a year. And still, even after a year, don't expect me to talk about that because every time I try, it breaks my heart. A mental issue is not something you deal in 12 minutes on YouTube. It takes years. 1 year off and I'm still trying to understand why I was so in denial about my mental state. Why I made mistakes instead of just opening up. I still have nightmares and sometimes I cry for no reason. For me, for example, it's embarrassing to talk about that because that made me do silly things that I've never done before. And I'm ashamed of that because that never happened. I normally never lose control. And if Chris, back in 2017, tried to analyze me the same way he did with Trisha, I would have been devastated. Okay, to put into perspective, imagine you once tried to fuck a sponge attached to a radiator when you were 14. You're not proud of that and you've changed since then. You have a family, you have a channel and a beautiful fedora, and then a guy with no qualification accuses you of having BPD or a thermo fetish with no opportunity to add context or explain how drunk you were and that you never cheated on it until the day he rusted and eventually was replaced. That would piss you off, although you still think about that. Look, call me a pussy for not wanting to share my problems or my story with you, although I tried with the Real Stream News, link down below. But I'm not the only one thinking that what Chris is doing is actually dangerous. Dr. Grove, for example, an expert in psychology and behavior, and secretly legitimate half-brother of Richard Dawkins, explained his mind in a very colorful tweet. The retired soul is not a healthy individual on YouTube. Apparently, he spends all of his time diagnosing others, has no credentials, no graduate degree. In other words, his opinions is shit. Amazing, he has so many followers. Unfollow this jerk. But Dr. Grohl released another video, a Karma video, where he explains why he is or he isn't live streaming. Well, not quite live, but close enough. And of course, why Chris is damaging the mental health community.
Hey, Psych Central fans, Dr. John Grohl coming to you direct from our offices in Newburyport, Massachusetts, live, well, not quite live, but close enough. I'm here to talk today about a YouTube channel called the Rewired Soul that's hosted by Chris Boutte. Chris Boutte is a mental health advocate who seems to have gotten himself into a little bit of trouble in the past year or so when he went away from his focus and mission, which was helping people understand mental health issues, which I think is a very valuable mission, one that we encourage and hope more and more people share their stories on YouTube. Unfortunately, his channel kind of took a turn for the worse when it started to diagnose other YouTubers and celebrities. Technically, maybe it would be okay, but probably not if he was a professional of some type, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a therapist, has a licensure in mental health counseling or something of that nature. Chris doesn't have any of those things, and that's a problem. You shouldn't probably be getting your mental health advice and diagnoses from someone who is well-meaning and seemingly well-intentioned, but is doing it from afar. He's doing diagnosis from afar, which is generally a no-no in amongst professionals in psychology, psychiatry, clinical social work, you name it. If you are a mental health professional, you probably don't do a lot of diagnosis of people you've never met.
Another psychologist that criticized Chris is Mr. Todd Grundy. Now, I want you to spot the difference. Look at this guy. And now, look at this beautiful, sexy man. He is sexy as fuck. He's got the posture, the smile, the shirt, the sexy voice. Two professionals criticizing you is the psychologist equivalent of a double McBurger upsetting your colon. No matter how much you want to keep it in, shit has to come out at some point. And people respect these two guys because they are professionals. Now, this beautiful man says something very important with his smooth, calm, sexy voice.
Chris really pushes the boundaries with mental health in his channel. sometimes not really even a blurry line, it's crossing a boundary. Clearly he's not a professional, but is he an advocate? Is he an educator? Or just somebody who's interested in this area and talking about it? So there's all these tiers, and there's a lot to consider here. Chris has touched on an important issue with his boundary crossing and mental health in YouTube. He simply has. What are the rules? What are the boundaries? Can we talk about people at all? Can we use them even to open the discussion? We don't really have all these rules worked out. So Chris's channel, The Rewired Soul, has really become an important test case. And I think it's so important that I don't like the idea of just turning my back and letting it go. Everybody in the world, everybody around us, at some point in their life does something wrong. People make poor decisions. Our society has to deal with those poor decisions at different levels through the concepts of mercy and justice, or if you want to use less dramatic terms, we could say compassion and accountability. Our legal system is really based on balancing mercy and justice, and a lot of our interactions are based on this, right? We deal with people, and we understand they're human, they're going to make mistakes, but we need accountability, but we also show compassion, right? It's the balance. It's how you balance the two that's important.
Now, say what you like about Chris, and if you are one of these guys, you can't, otherwise you're gonna take your channel down. But he really managed to unite two communities together against himself. And if Chris decided to come back for good, we at DJoshShow have prepared an ad that truly represents his channel. An ad, Chris, if you're watching, an ad you can use and even monetize. An ad that will show people what your channel is really like. Enjoy.
For nearly 2 Earth years, we provided you with the best advice you possibly couldn't have asked for. Because at the Rewired Soul, we talk about drama and focus on the solution. Are you an alcoholic? Stop drinking. Have you got anger problems? Punch your mother-in-law in the throat. Are you agoraphobic? Work the 2 steps to quit. Go out and fuck yourself. So get ready, because Chris is gonna swat your brain out. Depression is trendy, but you'll eventually grow out of it. Just like drinking chocolate milk, laughing when the ketchup bottle makes a fart noise, and dreams. Because you'll come to the realization that yes, your life sucks, but at least you're not a bus driver in the Gaza Strip. And if that's not the case, it's your boyfriend's fault. He's definitely an enabler. Chris Boutte has illustrated his beliefs in novels like You're Not Depressed, You're Surrounded by Assholes. You're Not Crazy, Just Mentally Hilarious. And Recipe for Happiness, a foot massage, 2 donuts, and a blowjob. Be grateful for these 3 masterpieces. And if you're not, just remember you're now part of a small 75% minority. Serious side effects may include severe stomach pain, vomiting, diarrhea, extreme fatigue, hair thinning, chest pain, aggression, agitation, gas, breast and belly growth, HPV, HIV, hepatitis A, B, and C. Next time, won't you sing with me?
And finally, I think we all agree that Chris shouldn't diagnose or charge people. But I'd like to try to change your mind about his mother. I actually like his mother. Many have watched this clip.
What are your credentials? I'm like, bitch, I don't got none. I can say whatever the fuck I want, and you can do whatever you want with that information.
Right.
It is so nice. I am living the dream. People ask me like, oh, what's your degree in? I'm like, I don't got one. I barely graduated high school, dropped out of college twice.
But the entire clip is simpler than you think.
Julia.
And I think another reason I don't do that so much is because when you're in the profession, there's a lot of, you could get in a lot of trouble for, the patients have rights. There's a patient right thing. So you have to watch how you talk to them.
That was one of the best things, is that I wasn't like a licensed therapist. I could say whatever. And the same thing on my YouTube channel. Like everybody's like, what are your credentials? I'm like, bitch, I don't got none. I can say whatever the fuck I want, and you can do whatever you want with that information.
Right.
It is so nice. I am living the dream. People ask me like, oh, what's your degree in? I'm like, I don't got one. barely graduated high school, dropped out of college twice. Like,
I'm sorry to laugh, but he is so 100% right. Did you know giving advice without credentials is safer?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's safer than giving it with credentials. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're moving. Maybe we should just.
No, my mom's always saying that. Like, whenever we're tossing around ideas, she's like, "Oh, I don't know if I can say this. I don't know if I can say that." And she makes me word stuff a certain way. I'm like, God, it is nice being me. It is so good to be me. Ain't no like committee coming after me. You know.
Stop it.
I can't get in trouble with the APA. Can't get in trouble with ASAM. Can't get in trouble with fucking like I had to be mindful of HIPAA because I was working at a facility.
I'm sorry to laugh, guys, but you have no idea how true that is.
Yeah. No, so something that I debate with is like, should I not finish school? Like I have so much more wiggle room by just not getting my credentials. You know what I mean?
I know.
Oh, see? You know what I mean? You get that? You get that for your compilation?
Yeah, because when you have, guys, when you get your PhD or master's degree, there's a lot. Ethics is extremely, yeah.
While we all agree that Chris is disrespectful, he just doesn't give a fuck, his mother is simply laughing about something true about her profession. I watched all their live streams before doing this video, and I kind of like her. She's chilled, she's a cool woman, and she's very likable. Sure, she was on a website run by her son. We don't know whether she knew that or not. Maybe she was just trying to make some extra customers. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I could blame her for not distancing from her son. But Chris is her son. Maybe she really believes in him. Maybe she hasn't watched all of his videos. Now, I want you to look at this clip because this is something I personally find very worrying for someone that wants to do what Chris is doing. And I want you to keep an eye on the chat. A woman says that her son passed. And I want you to focus on Chris's reaction.
So do you think like doctors are out there prescribing stuff that should be left to a psychiatrist?
I think they're physicians and their job is to fix you physiologically. So I think that's what they do. They've been trained to do that. I'm not saying it's right, but I see that.
Be careful with your arm on there too because it'll wiggle the camera.
So that's what they're trained to do.
Do
I think it's right? No.
Like, should doctors be allowed to prescribe like Xanax and Valium and things like that?
Yes, they're trained in that. They're trained in psychopharmacology.
Yeah.
But they're not trained in giving you lithium for, they shouldn't be giving certain meds. You're asking some on the line questions. You know what I'm saying? Here. You're asking me some questions and I'm not going to say to everybody watching this because that's kind of iffy.
Well, I'm curious because one of the,
Makes sense?
As I'm talking, lift up the chair and scoot it like an inch and a half.
Her doctor prescribed Tammy,
Xanax,
but I don't know why they prescribed the Xanax. What was the reason, the symptomology? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Xanax isn't a bad drug.
Well, Mom, here's the thing, you guys. My mom's channel that she started.
She's what a pediatrician! Whoa, Tammy, it changed my life so much.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Everybody, go subscribe to my mom's channel right now. It's in the description.
Oh, her son was killed. So, that is for anxiety. That's for if she was feeling anxious because of the death, of course, to get her calmer because that's horrible. I'm sorry for your loss, Tammy.
Yeah, well, that's why you started taking Xanax too, right?
Yeah, yes.
We were actually just talking about that earlier.
Yeah,
I think I mentioned that in one of my videos. So I'm supposed to have an older brother who passed away, and then my mom got on Xanax, and then I came out of her body withdrawing from Xanax. But yeah. Oh, okay. We'll get back to that later.
Wow. He didn't say anything. His mother tried to understand why Tammy was prescribed with Xanax, but he just brushed it off. And that's the reason why I decided to make this video. I personally think that Chris is not cut out to do whatever he's doing, whatever you want to call it. Without experience, without a background, without education, he believes to be able to read people's mind. Theory of mind is something humans reach at a certain age, and I'm not sure Chris is mentally there. Talk about drama, everybody does, but when your followers are in a certain way your client, when you sell a product, when you are the product, when you become a mentor, and then start judging people, that's hurtful in therapy. No one should have that kind of experience. The vast majority of therapy should be about them, not about yourself. A good counselor, a good therapist, a good psychologist doesn't guess. They understand that our wounds are just openings into the most beautiful part of us. I could be learning.
You